I grew up in a very female home, and I have a mom, and I said I have a twin sister, and I have a mom, and I have an Italian dad who's almost a girl. And so we were like very female. And then I have
He's
5 men.
metrosexual.
We
He's
love
metro.
him, yes, but he tries more than I, yeah. But so I grew up, and then I'm in this house with 5 men. And I think what's interesting, what you said, Lisa, is, you know, it's that idea like I can't be all things to all men, right? I can't bring masculinity out of my boys, but what I can do is put them around godly men.
Right.
And when I start to try to do all of that, I get in trouble. It's when I get burned out. I try to present something I'm not. So for me, I always think like, what as a woman can I bring that no one else can bring? And one of the thoughts I've been really thinking about is like, I'm a nurturing powerhouse. I can nurture anything back to life. I'm the only one that's ever held life. I'm the only one that's ever birthed life in my home. Like my husband doesn't care if they get me, like, I'm like, let them live, because it took me like a year to make each of them, you know? But it's like, he doesn't have that same connection that I'm like, no, they need this. And I know that. And so instead of resenting what he brings and thinking like, you don't value what I bring, being okay to say, this is what I bring to the table, and you bring that. And if you'll have to own whatever God calls you to bring to the table, and I'll have to own whatever God calls me, but I'm gonna show up what I can do. And I'm not gonna sit and hold you to like, you need to be doing this, versus saying, wait, if I just focus on what God's called me to, I'll be busy enough.
Yeah.
I really believe that in life. If I steward what God's given me, then I will have very little time to judge how you're showing up. Because I need to show up full. So oftentimes even when my husband will talk to the boys, and he's talking, I'm thinking, you're being too rough, or you're saying that, you shouldn't be saying it like that. The Lord will say, you cannot call masculinity out of them, only he can. So be quiet, and you will nurture them, and they will measure every woman to you, but you cannot make them men. And that's something critical.
And I do think a lot of moms do that, because I wanted John to parent the way I parented.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like, okay, I want you
We're
to
always
parent,
right.
but I want you to parent how I would parent. And John would be like, that's not how men interact with each other.
That's how
so
yes.
you don't get to be
Leave
part
it
of that.
alone. That's right.
You know, I'll never forget the day I said to Matt, I got on to him how he was talking to one of our boys. And he sat and he listened to all of it. And I'll never forget, he was sitting there putting his socks and his shoes on. He's just listening, and I wasn't yelling. I was just saying, you know, and
I was yelling.
I'm like, do y'all yell? Please say you yell. Because I yell.
And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he said, I wish my father would have said something like that to me at that age.
Wow.
He said, if you would just let me father him. And I'll never forget that feeling of just going, it was like I touched something holy.
That's right.
For me. It was like, oh, I just touched something I'm not supposed to touch, and let him be the father that God's called him to be. Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload. Thanks for being a part of our Better Together community.